Hey, welcome back! Today I decided I would talk about books I read in January. Usually I wait till the end of the year and talk about the books I've read all year, but I read so many in January that I thought I might make this a more frequent occurrence. I read 25 books in January. That was kind of a lot for me, so if I wait till the end of the year to talk about them, I'll never be able to remember all that I read. So I read several books by C.S. Lewis, including The Abolition of Man, The Great Divorce, That Hideous Strength, which is kind of the abolition of man in story form. I also read several Ray Bradbury books, including Dandelion Wine, Farewell Summer, Death is a Lonely Business. I got into H.G. Wells and read Strange Tales and The Invisible Man and War of the Worlds. And off of H.G. Wells I started into Jules Verne, read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days. Not only that, but I got into books of poetry. The one I most got into was Nikki Giovanni. She's absolutely phenomenal. In her book, The Women and the Men, every single poem, every line, it just seemed like it struck and resonated. I've also been reading a lot of young adult and middle grade adventure stories. I read the first two books of the Wingfeather Saga, and I was getting really excited because I was planning on reading them to my children, and then they get a little bit heavy, so I think I'm gonna have to wait a little while. I also read The Doorway and the Deep, which is the second Catherine Ormsby book, K.E. Ormsby book, of The Water and the Wild. They're both so phenomenal, such great characters, so rich. And the third book in the Map to Everywhere series by Carrie Ryan and her husband John Park Davis, and they've got such rich characters, such fun and dynamic and colorful sequences, just really great prose. And one of my favorite reads was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. It's a young adult retelling of the story of the Queen of Hearts and how she came to be the Queen of Hearts. And if you know anything about Alice in Wonderland and know some things about the Queen of Hearts, you can kind of see where the book is going. It re-explores several of the characters, including the Mad Hatter and the March Hare. And although it has a whole lot of these fairy tale elements to it, it's really heartrending. You fall in love with the main character and then you slowly see her transform into somebody who you really are not very happy with. I don't want to say too much because spoilers, but it's got another dark take on the whole Faustian bargain thing. Since February's begun, I've picked up some pretty heavy philosophical kind of books. I've been reading Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I'm in the middle of How Dante Can Save Your Life, which is a really fantastic look at Dante. Rod Dreyer, who had a deep family, an existential crisis, his health and his emotions and his spiritual nature were just being worn down by his life and by stress with his family, and he found Dante and used Dante to help pull him through this spiritual journey. I also just finished A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis, which is pretty heartrending as well. It is Lewis being put to the test. Lewis has all these great intellectual ideas, these great ways of thinking through and creating a sort of apologetics for religion, and yet here he is struggling with true and sincere grief. It was very rich. So that's what I've been reading. I'm interested to know what you've been reading. What's been on your reading list? Go ahead and put it on the comments below if you like, and I'll see you in a month or so when I tell you what I'm reading next. Thanks.